Good evening and welcome back for another week of the Southeastern Esports League on the Rocket League side, of course sponsored by MSI. It's still playoff time as we are getting deep into our double elimination bracket as some land spots have been clinched and some are still being very much fought for. I'm Mr. Bepic, joined in the booth as always by DJ TJ. TJ, how you doing?
It's another great day in the Southeast for what I hope is at least subpar Rocket League. The playoffs always seem to bring the worst out of everybody involved, but I am very excited because we get to start our day in uppers as well. But there's so much to follow today.
By subpar, he means entertaining is the word we would use there. But we've got Bruton Parker in Florida up first, so I think we might get both entertainment and quality Rocket League here, as these are two top teams that I've been waiting to see fight all week long, as we knew this was the match we were going to get on stream. As Florida went 2-0 last week after starting in round one of the upper bracket. They got some revenge on Bruton Parker Academy after surviving against Kennesaw State in game 5. So Florida's looking pretty good right now. And Bruton Parker, I think to nobody's surprise, is in winner's semis at the moment.
Florida is easily one of the biggest stories to talk about in this playoff. They showed up last season as a 6th seed and made a very deep run. And I still remember to this day casting that ETSU losers final where they managed to lose all 3 games either in a first 10-second overtime moment or at a 0-second moment. It was one of the weirdest series I've ever seen in an SEL playoff, and Florida have seemed to get over their woes of being clutch and being icy both on and off stream, and Bruton Parker, they've been changing lineups a decent amount. I mean, I've heard from Milk a decent amount that in NECC and their other leagues that they are trying to explore what is best for the team moving forward, but in the SEL, they are stuck with Manny, Antics, and Cass, which I say stuck, but that right there are 3 extremely talented players, and players that can hold a candle to the best of the best.
Still a top 2 team for sure. I mean, I think in the majority of brackets, it's Cumberland and Bruton Parker in the grand finals of SEL playoffs. Most people are predicting that to be the case. And so I think this lineup, still high quality. Florida are coming in here as underdogs, but they have been playing some of the best Rocket League that I've seen out of them in recent times. They seem to have finally completely figured out this lineup with Hammy Crackers. So I'm excited to see how they stack up against Bruton Parker, who all throughout the season were a top 25 at least a team in the colleague top 48 poll.
We also haven't gotten to look at Cass in a very long time. I believe it was actually since the colleague tournament where we've truly gotten to focus on him as a player. And on the SEL stream, we haven't seen them since, I believe it was week 2 or 3 of the SEL in the group stage, I mean. So I'm also intrigued to see where his role in the rotation will be, because we already know what Manny and Antics bring to the table. They are a easily defined duo, and I say easily defined, I mean in terms of their skill level. You know where they're going to sit. They're going to be atop of the Bruton Parker offense, and they're also going to combine on defense. So for Cass, just find your spot in the middle, and for Florida, you've got everything to prove. They've never beaten this Bruton Parker roster. This Bruton Parker roster went 21-2 as well. They're extremely versatile and extremely prepared for what should be a banger of a winner's semifinal.
Definitely. I mean, Bruton Parker has one of, if not the best winning percentage. Let me confirm that real fast so I can accurately say the stat. By all-time win percentage, that includes groups, bracket play, on LAN as well. They have the best winning percentage for any team that has competed in multiple semesters of the SEL. Since they joined last spring, they are the pinnacle of quality in the Southeastern Esports League. They're sitting at about an 85% series win rate. It's unbelievable, the quality of BPC. So it's expected that they play more than likely Cumberland in the next round. But hey, James Madison, maybe they could pull off a crazy upset there.
Of all the teams to bet on here, a Florida that is not only the 6th seed once again, but a Florida that is also even hotter than they were before, why not make it back to the winner's final? Granted, you got to play Bruton Parker around earlier, but I'm all game for what we could see here from Florida. They've had so much time to improve as a unit. They've looked great in CRL quals. They've looked great on and off LAN. This roster looks like they could get out to an early start for the first time in what feels like forever for a Florida Rocket League team. But without further ado, let's see what the boys in blue can do.
Well, third place in the fall, and I'm sure they've got their sights set on even better than that here in the spring, but you've got to go through Bruton Parker. That was the case last split. It's still the case now, and this BPC team with Cass in the lineup has been so effective this entire spring semester. I mean, I think they just qualified for the Naceland here later on in the season as they're top 8 there, and absolutely top 8 in the Southeast as they're sitting in a guaranteed top 6 spot at the moment, but going to battle against a Gators team that came in second place. The collision on the coast recently looked good on land and online as well. I've looked hot. Let's see what they can do.
A Gator team that mentally is also at its absolute best shape. I mean, Hammy Crackers has always been an incredible collegiate leader, but Raid has improved a heavy amount. Larry continues to impress, and I hate that Stream can't see it, but from at least my end of things, Larry's name when he came in was Gator Boys Stay Hot, an obvious reference to the Florida win in March Madness. And maybe there's a little bit of on-campus, maybe aura, maybe some extra add-ins to their performance, a little boost per se to their game, and we'll have to see how Bruton Park combats it because we are dead even so far.
Good back and forth, decent possession from Florida, but this is the spot where it's going to get dangerous. When BPC puts that ball in an awkward spot, but Hammy does at least get the ball off of his backboard, and the next shot for BPC is a little bit lackluster. I mean, on target and struck well, but Florida was in a good position to stop that, and leads to a clear going back the other way, though they haven't had too much presence on that BPC back line. It seems like both sides are really getting used to each other at the moment.
Bruton Parker, though, slowly settling into their rhythm. They've never been a team against any level of CRL where they've started extremely quickly, and you can see them struggling with some of those midfield issues. Also, Antics in a very bold card choice, but it won't matter because as I bring it up, he scores.
All right, clean finish here in the corner. I mean, Antics taps that ball lightly. I think Manny was zoning Larry off the ball there as Larry went up the sidewall temporarily, I think trying to swerve away from him. And that, a bit late on the challenge, Antics bests him with that little bit of space. And that's what Bruton Parker can do against you. They take the smallest pockets of room, and they can make the most out of them.
One of the big notes on the other side of the field is Florida. Their best player being Hammy Crackers, he never has to be this team's spearhead in the attack. His entire job is to control the midfield, but it's the same thing last season where with Hammy, we know he can take on a team like this, but when he's trying to set the pace next to Larry and next to Raid, you can tell there's small gaps that Bruton Parker does find, like you mentioned, and it's more so a very even skill level thing for Bruton Parker while also having that high level experience as a roster as well. I mean, this is also a team, Bebek, that almost made it through the CECC South qualifiers. They went Game 7 OT versus Concord while we were actually at the beach. So this is a roster who knows how to compete in that series and also across this entire season, and Florida having a tough time combating that.
No, they've been at the top of CRL for a while now, for a lot of different reasons, and Florida are going to have to find a way to create those little gaps themselves, as there's finally a lane to shoot for Florida, as so far they have registered 4 shots, but they've typically been at Bruton Parker players or a little bit on the slower side, and so it's been tough getting quality offense for the Gators thus far. Though they can create a little bit more room here. I think got a flip reset, but left the ball for True Raid. To Pammy off the sidewall, but even he's shut down by Manny right there. Great challenge by BPC as the Barons continued to put the clamps on defensively.
90 seconds to go here. Larry will try and take a step out of his own corner, but instead it's going to fall into the hands of Cass. Does have a reset, goes for some sort of carry, but 2 Barons will now commit. Third one is heavy in weight, as now there goes Manny, but a huge demo from Antics will take Raid out of the play. Larry now off the sidewall. Nobody there to pass to as Manny cuts the lane off. Cass is there for a redirect. Backboard, not to himself, though. Double quit for Florida. That's 30 seconds already that's gone by, and Florida's attacks are really not coming into any sort of fruition, and Bruton Parker just setting up a tent here in the midfield. They got their 1 goal, and they plan to keep it that way.
And Florida, that double commit in a potential offensive transition moment kind of cost them because Antics had run ahead looking for a demo there on the Gators goal line, and that could have been a way to get maybe a 2v1 in the other end. Instead, though, it's more Bruton Parker possession, and they're trying to find a late insurance score, but they won't be able to get it, although Cass has an open net. Can't get around the ball, though, and Antics is still playing aggressively on that goal line, leaving Manny alone in defense. And on the backboard, he misses. He had no boost, so Larry swoops in and scores to tie us up with less than 30 seconds left.
I think unexpected on this play from Manny is an understatement. Did have just a little bit of boost, but barely misses that ball, and no comms, it seemed like, came through for Bruton Parker. So under 30 to go. Florida finally finds their first, and what better of a time to do it, Bevik?
And now they can potentially find another one with True Raid going off the sidewall with a lot of room to work with, though he can't beat Manny, who out-challenges him. So Bruton Parker can look to reclaim this lead, but they have to take the ball away from Larry. And Cass will fuel up in his defensive corner, but is beaten by Hammy Crackers, who centers the ball. And that was a chance for the Gators, but Larry had a secondary opportunity as well that goes high. Florida are getting chances to steal this game away late, but they can't do it in regulation unless this ball hangs in the air a little bit longer, which it won't with Hammy around it.
All right, I got a little bit of deja vu seeing Florida in a 0-second scenario in Game 1 here in a playoff series, but they do survive for the time being. That could change, though, right here, right now, but Cass has to retreat. Doesn't have a lot of boosts, as you'll watch Antics break dance his way back to the midfield, but now Florida keeping possession. This right here is one of the more obvious changes that this team has decided to make compared to last season. They are doing anything that it takes to keep possession and actually earn these attacks. But Bruton Parker in no rush. That's another big change that a team has made here. In fact, it's probably the biggest change that bringing somebody like Cass into the rotation has done. They're very patient. They're in no rush to get 3 demos at a time like the previous roster was. But when they find their moments, they like to shine. But Manny will be met in the air there. But Cass did have a chance, but is met by a pre-jumping Raid just about. And now another great play from Raid. Not a lot of boost either for Bruton Parker. It forces both Cass and Manny in very awkward spots. Luckily for them, Antics is there in the midfield to tap it away, but now here comes Hammy. There goes one player who actually does bump him, but he's still on the ball. Fakes out Manny, has room to go middle, and it will go off of his wheels, but the wrong type of middle. It goes way back.
These challenges for Bruton Parker are so suffocating. I mean, it's so easy to play methodically like this when you can just stifle a ball's momentum with a 50-50, and BPC use that now to escape from defense, and we'll see if they can take the ball away from Larry, who's got momentum going forward, but Cass playing that out to the side will be able to get back to it. Oh, Ray does out 50 him, so Florida will advance into more space in the offensive zone. That's a miss. Bruton Parker are getting a little bit scary in defense as it's getting awkward at times, and Florida are slowly gaining steam, but they have to be so careful. In moments like this, as Larry lets the ball go, BPC didn't commit on a shot.
Hammy not concerned. He's going to let Larry go play lead blocker. It will be directly over. Cass is there to stall out the play, but dangerous, like you mentioned earlier, is maybe another understatement regarding Bruton Parker. They don't look nearly as controlled in the offensive half as they did in the first, I would say, almost 4 minutes of this game. But ever since they allowed that cheap goal, now they are not finding good chances up until about right there where Cass did get a shot, but was easily blocked away. Manny, quick turnaround, is able to look middle, will win the 50. Hammy does find Raid, though. Great transition plays from Florida. It's keeping them in contention here. We are 2 minutes into... It's only a best of 5 as well, so a lot of meaning here in this overtime. As another Bruton Parker shot very narrowly is pushed off.
Oh, that's a nice grab by Hammy as Cass was in position in the corner to keep that possession going, but Hammy beats him and Antics, though Manny is third man for Bruton Parker, keeps them playing in the offensive zone, so Antics will turn with no boost. He's going to track back now as Larry upfield will take a challenge with Cass and drops the ball down for Hammy Crackers. Manny on the backboard fields, though, and Bruton Parker continued to exercise control around the pitch, though I agree with you. It was kind of slipping away for a moment for the Barons, and Florida can still take possession from them and keep it in that offensive zone, maybe win the game now as a shot is just shy of being on target for UF, and Bruton Parker will clear.
Wrong way pinch for Raid, but it does give Hammy plenty of possession as well. And now we're starting to see the deepest part of these teams' bags. You can tell the midfield is a lot less contested as Larry pulls out a reset play off the ceiling, but ball is a little too heavy for him. That shot will go on net as well, but what I was trying to say was that both these teams in the midfield are really giving each other a lot of respect. It's almost like that they're too scared to give away the very first game of this series, which for Florida I can understand given how the last season or two has gone for them, but for Bruton Parker it's decently shocking that they're not putting their foot on the gas here and showing maybe some old 2024 ways. But either way, they are very heavy set in this play style. Larry's got to make a touch and will. Not the most conventional touch, but it will work. And also, Bruton Parker hasn't had a lot of boost in this overtime.
No, and even
Oh
now they've been
my.
beaten. That net's open. Hammy Crackers can do it himself. Florida, after 4 minutes of overtime, have taken game 1 against Bruton Parker.
I mean, who better to do it than just let Hammy go to work? Gets a great play to, or at least bait out 1, and then proceeds to air dribble over 2 directly. That is a very uncharacteristic moment from Bruton Parker, but at the same time, that is what Hammy Crackers can do for you.
I mean, I think the 13 shots on target, only scoring 1 of those opportunities for Bruton Parker is even more uncharacteristic. So many chances for them, and they're typically so consistent, getting good opportunities on frame, but it didn't feel like BPC was doing enough or able to do enough against that Florida defense to kind of pull them off the goal line and make them play defense in awkward positions outside of the 1 goal they did score, where it was Manny upfield or maybe Antics upfield that was looking for Larry, hunting him down, and that forced him to pull out of position and create space for that eventual goal. And after the first half of that game, it felt like that kind of tapered off, and Florida was able to stabilize themselves in that game.
I hate to be repetitive, but in the pre-show, I brought up Cass's role on this Baron attack and defense, and I want to bring it up again because I still can't decipher it. It almost seems like this is the first time where Bruton Parker's had a insanely even rotation as a team. Normally, you can expect Manny to be the more aggressive player, one of the most annoying players on the pitch that you'll ever play, even though he's a sweetheart in person. It's weird for Bruton Parker. It doesn't feel right. Something feels off, and you could tell that entire overtime they were not comfortable.
Well, we'll see what they do to adjust, but Florida did really well to get themselves back into that game 1. I mean, they slowed it down, they slowly developed opportunities in offense, and it did lead eventually to that late regulation goal to get us into OT, which was another grind fest for the Gators. But a double commit on the back line of Bruton Parker could open up some room now for Hammy Crackers, who has a full tank of boost, Larry in tow, but Antics right there to reject any real progress into that Bruton Parker box. And now Cass has that same kind of room, same kind of boost, and he'll bump Larry off the play, though Florida's defense is well layered.
Heavy touch for Hammy. He is able to get right back to it, though. Will force Antics to dive at this play and almost does stay on it, but instead now Larry gets a chance off the ceiling to stay on. Doesn't win that 50, though, and that's one of the inevitable factors of Bruton Parker, is that it seems like no matter what challenge they send, other than, of course, that overtime goal, they are very successful, and their counters look great as well, except for Manny. Caught very off guard. Raid needs to try and find this ball middle. Will go down, but it will also be out, and also Manny gets the boost. Will miss that touch, though, so Florida is still within their bounds to keep pushing. Antics will slam it away to a very easy play for Raid. Hammy will look middle. Maybe we'll look for a bump instead, but Manny had already made the ego chow. It's no surprise there, and it's successful for him, as now Florida once again has to reset at the hands of Hammy Crackers.
A good 50 will play that ball into space now for True Raid, who goes up with it as it takes an awkward ramp bounce. He's challenged by Antics, but keeps the ball neutral. And it, in fact, pops off of a Bruton Parker player as well there in the corner, but Manning recovers and sets up Antics for another play in offense. BPC find themselves in a similar position to Florida, where this is just a grindy game for both teams, as both sides are playing well defensively. There are the occasional missed touches on the Bruton Parker end where they're missing the ball uncharacteristically, but the recovery speed, I think, is enough so far to where that hasn't really cost them outside of the 1 goal in game 1. And then Florida, same deal. They're double committing occasionally. Their position's awkward, but Larry has just found a seam to shoot out of nowhere and hits his mark.
I thought that was easily saved, but no, Larry straight up slotted this past 3. Manny was in the middle of the net and opened that entire side up, and Larry goes 70 miles an hour, top left. That's a huge step-up play from the Florida second man, but acting like the first one there.
All right, so Florida will keep the ball rolling as BPC got goal 1 in game 1, and since then, it's been 3 consecutive for UF, though Cass can change that. He's trying to play a bit of bully ball there. Made Hammy go in and out of the net, but the ball never advanced with him. So True Raid clears down the pitch, headhunts Antics, and now Larry can get this ball to Hammy, but the ball gets away from him on the flip reset play. So BPC used that window to escape from defense temporarily, though haven't quite worked their way completely back into offense and won't get the chance to, though Florida's made a meal out of this one. A bit of a soft triple commit there. Upfield in that transition into offense, so BPC now can take the ball away.
Nice little team meeting in the middle of the pitch there for Florida, but they will get away with it. Believe it or not, that's the second triple commit, at least that I've seen this game, and Bruton Parker is normally the type of team who always capitalizes off of those mistakes, but now they're making some pretty major ones of their own. They are still finding pressure, are still finding bumps, but even Antics right here, he had to overcompensate for his position, can't get the recovery, and Florida, they're not pushing him. Nobody wants to push each other. The respect from both teams is admirable, but it's also going to hold Florida back from finding a goal. Not like they need it, but even bigger than that, Bruton Parker not finding a lot of major offense. That could change here, though. Double commit, though, will stall that out. Hammy calls right off, takes that mid boost, and will not be dunked. He's got space, has a reset, is past two. Cass has to rip this one away, but once again, the second man for Bruton Parker has been almost non-existent this game, and Florida's 90 seconds away from going up 2-0.
Still, Bruton Parker, have possession, but the boost isn't quite there again. Antics refueled but was beaten at the midfield line, and now True Raid has bested the last man of BPC and will put Florida up a pair.
Raid 1v1 versus newcomer Cass. I did not have that on my bingo card, but I'm totally cool with seeing it here. What a great play from one of the more consistent, dependable players on this roster's back line. Gets a great counterattack all in his own hands.
And if True Raid's unlocked for Florida, Bruton Parker might be in trouble because UF have been firing on all cylinders, and it still feels like Bruton Parker are getting into this series. It's still awkward for them. The challenges they're going for out of defense aren't turning into more possession, and right there, Larry is up so quickly for that ball. Reads the corner bounce well, and now can turn around and still just be a nuisance to Bruton Parker, though True Raid won't be able to get back to this ball. Actually, he can. Cass had True Raid on no boost with that ball going up the sidewall, and BPC still can't break out of defense, and now they need 2 in 30 seconds.
I'm genuinely appalled thus far at the Bruton Parker Challenge game. It feels like we're watching a completely different team. In fact, it feels like the Academy team was on a hotter challenge game start than they were right now. And also worth noting, Florida did lose to that Academy team in 4 games over in the group stage. So the fact that they're here against the main team and are now on the verge of going up 2-0 in a critical winners semi, this right here is something special. And with 4 seconds left, this play being denied, that is exactly what they're going to do. Florida's on match point.
Well, we knew Florida coming into the playoffs were playing some of their better Rocket League all season. They seem to have hit a stride at the perfect time. I mean, in this game, it was just all dirty work. Only 3 shots for Florida, but they had plenty of possession. They limited Bruton Parker opportunities because there were only 3 for the Barons as well. And in the midfield, Florida won the most important battle, and BPC now have to reverse sweep if they want that winner's final spot.
I mean, somebody's got to be devil's advocate. They are the 2 seed for a reason. I do believe that is possible, but I haven't seen enough positives for me to jump the boat just yet. Florida looks as consistent and as composed and as equal across the board as ever. They still have their identity. You will still see Larry in your half making chaos happen, but every single player is the most efficient version of themselves they can be. Florida took 3 shots and scored 2 goals. It is as simple as that. And no assist either. They're doing it within solo plays. They haven't had to work to the extent that normally you would have to against a team like Cumberland, against a team like Bruton Parker. And outside of the SCL, Bruton Parker have fallen a little bit in the average power rankings, but they are still one of the best in the nation, and they've got to showcase that talent here.
All right, well, this is Bruton Parker's league still. They are still the reigning champions of the fall split of SCL Season 5. So falling this early in playoffs in the spring would be a shock. Florida have come to play, and so far, BPC have been a little bit lackluster, especially when it comes to their playmaking. Passes going into open space where there isn't a teammate to field, allowing Florida to break the ball out, or at the very least take a favorable challenge at the midfield line. And right there, a double commit in defense. Cass and Manny both up for the same ball. Neither of them had a ton of boost, and that's just going to waste more resources on the BPC end. They've got to lock in now because they need 3 straight, and Florida look on point.
Also, that was a close chance for Larry, as Antics was backwards, but Larry will take a great 50 and lead this ball middle. Raid is trying to cause some havoc, and will succeed, though, but Hammy can't capitalize just yet. Does find a spawn kill over on Manny. Antics has to give this ball away. Is completely sent out of the play as well. He goes off your monitors as now Manny will look to get it back into play. It's in the corner. Ball is still middle, but Cass is nowhere to be found. Will be able to turn up for this ball, though, as Raid gets a friendly reminder to go for the ball from his teammate, and now Hammy will take his place, and actually did get a clip of his teammate's hood. Worked out as a successful clear. Double commit for Florida, but both players were very much on the nose of their challenge game right there. Cass faking out one. Bruton Parker finding their rhythm here early, but again, still missing that final blow.
And now these passes are being read by Florida as well, though of higher quality from Bruton Parker. Florida have stepped up the defense as well, and that's led to a chance downfield, though Larry's left alone, and he's just missed. Cass now is a 1v1. It's more like a 2v1 with Antics in tow, but Hammy Crackers gets the save and gets the stop. Florida's defense continues to do work against Bruton Parker.
2v1 against one of the more aggressive teams in the nation, and Hammy makes it look like it's just another day, but Larry makes a glaring error on the backboard and gives Manny one for free.
Well, I suppose it's only fair. Manny gave Florida one earlier, and now Larry's the one making mistakes on the backboard. So, Bruton Parker will have the first answer of many required to get back in this best of 5, but it is a lead, which they didn't score at all in Game 2, and they lost late in regulation in Game 1. So, we'll see if they can add on to what they've already done here on DFH, but at the halfway point, Florida's kickstarting more offense.
Manny, plenty of boost to work, and will use it, and now him and his trusty duo Antics almost combined for something special, but instead, they're both going to have to retreat because here comes the Florida attack. They do deny it for the time being. Ray can't stay on that ball, though, so Cass, an awkward first jump, but does find his teammate, does go for the pinch as well, and it will go flying, but nowhere near the net. As Larry's met by Manny, who's starting to look like himself here, finding a great challenge into what's almost a great counter. Antics takes a player out. Bruton Parker starting to show some of their old form here in Game 3. That right there could have been a shot, but instead, it's going to be slightly delayed. Antics goes top right. Larry is there to save, but now it's Florida really on their back foot. This right here is almost a throwback to what happened last fall, but there's still plenty of Rocket League left.
I mean, this is what I expected from Bruton Parker. A faster-paced offense, plenty of boost to work with, effectively playing a dynamic offense with the different passes that went for an air dribble bump in transition. I mean, they're throwing different looks now at Florida, and they're back to winning more of their 50-50s, which slipped away for the back half of Game 1 and into Game 2. So BPC seem like they are back, but Florida's doing a really good job weathering this storm, and if Hammy can save this, which he can't, I won't even get into what would happen if he could have, because Bruton Parker strike from the midfield line here with a great passing play and great contact on a Manny.
Bruton Parker, for the very first time in this series, find a lead that is worth more than a goal, and with 90 seconds to go, it's going to be a tough road for Florida, and if they can at least find some momentum here late, I do like their chances in Game 4, but with how Bruton Parker's looked in this game compared to the other two that they've struggled in, it's not exactly a freebie. That was almost in as well, but off the post, you can hear it clink off as now Antics has a shot. Larry's there to save it. No follow-up, though, and a lot of boost being stolen from Gator to Gator, as now Hammy will try to get something going of his own. Will look for a teammate, but second man is non-existent. Antics calls Manny off, and will take the fall for it. 60 seconds left to go, though, and Bruton Parker looks for a little more here. Hammy does miss that touch. Larry has some time. You need to find something here. Flip does go over one. No shot, though.
Cass will find a nice stop. No boost, though. Really make this transition happen, but he can at least be annoying. It's annoying enough to beat one Florida player, but the Gators have flipped the field. Now Manny's missed on the backboard, and Larry can try and clean up. It's at least forced Antics to play from an awkward position, and I think that Cass as well. But UF can't get a hold of one good shot to take advantage of Bruton Parker's awkward moment there in defense, as the Barons survive a strange moment on their back line, but it's with good challenges, good speed to the ball, and it really does feel like a switch has been flipped for the Barons, and if they can hold on here in Game 3, the reverse sweep bid might be on.
Oh, wait a minute, though. That's a close chance, but it looks like that will be the denying moment from Bruton Parker here in game number 3. They finally return to their old ways. They pick up the pace, and they play to one that they know they're the only ones in this league or at least one of the only two in this league, who can play up to that national level that you expect them to show up to. And the Barons look more than just comeback ready here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever wrote them off, despite lackluster games 1 and 2. It's still Burton Parker. They are still the fall split champs. They made a great run on land with a completely different roster last season after looking so good in the spring. And BBC, as a program, are made to win, and I don't think it really matters where they start their winning. So Florida has to be careful. They have to make sure that this BPC offense that has finally joined us for Game 3 of this best of 5 doesn't continue to find the same effectiveness as they did there, as the demos were connecting, the passes were connecting, the shots were lethal from every part of the pitch. And if that continues, Bruton Parker might be sending us on a trip to Champions Field.
You're playing Bruton Parker close. You've got to know that if you are in the Florida locker room right now. You can handle this team. It wasn't until Larry made a very one-off, never-before-seen error that led to a free one that kicked off the Bruton Parker spree. You can't let them get a goal early. That is directly playing into their new style, where all they have to do is be consistent. But without further ado, Driftwoods has the answers on if that consistency will stick, or can Florida get back to their winning ways?
Already a good start for Bruton Parker off kickoff. They've got Larry on the backboard again, but outside of that one miss, he was pretty effective up there. A lot of good backboard and goal line reads made, and here he is again, required low to no boost, and Manny takes advantage of that. I was not expecting him to win the race to this ball.
Top right, Hammy had just landed. Larry with no boost. That is a nightmare scenario. And Manny puts that ball exactly where it needed to go within the first 15 seconds. So a slow burn for the Bruton Parker attack to reach its peak flame. And they still got a game to prove that it could be at its peak. But regardless, they will take the early lead. And now it's going to put Florida in a pretty dangerous spot long term.
Speaking of danger, here comes Larry trying to double a ball in himself, and needed Hammy's help there at the end of the play, but Hammy Crackers didn't have a great read on the shot, so big opportunity number 1 for Florida is missed, as Bruton Parker can start an offensive immediately after, but have to track back quickly. Antics read that play before it got too dangerous and made a save off his own crossbar, but that counts just the same. BPC will keep their lead.
The earlier you can put Bruton Parker on their back foot, the better. It seems like their composure is not what it seems unless they get this early lead. And ever since they sold the very first one, they have not been the same team. And as you can see, Manny's able to solo his way past most of the Gator defense. Cass is there as well to go around one. This patience from Bruton Parker blends beautifully with their heavy first man style. If it's on, like it is right here, as Manny finds his second.
Okay, out of nowhere, too. These are small shooting lanes, but Bruton Parker creates it with that extra touch from Cass. Try to take a solo play, try to beat an already Florida defense that's playing awkwardly himself. He uses Manny, and Manny has found his shooting boots the last couple of games here. He nails his mark there, adds to the growing tally of goals for BPC, and now Florida need an answer soon.
I'm already this early in Game 4 looking back at the Larry Hammy play where it went right off of a Bruton Parker defender into Hammy's loving arms, and the shot was weak. That right there should have been the tying moment for them, because now you've not only given Bruton Parker 1 goal, but you might give them another one if you're not careful. Also worth mentioning on that last goal, as we see a double commit come out. We'll be safe for the time being, but we also witnessed a very tough miss from Larry, who actually managed to flip into his teammate and then get bumped by the other teammate. Like that right there, I've not seen Florida be that unlucky since, well, their last SCL series of the fall. And so for them, I hope that playoff woe is not coming back to hurt them. But so far, we're halfway through Game 4, and it feels like it.
Still, it is time to get your offense going. And Florida have had chances in this game. BBC, for the most part, are making good reads on their goal line, and now at the midfield line, even better reads. A 3-man stop right there, as they had a very aggressive third man move up, BPC did, and it leads to a chance as they make the good reads, make good passes, and clear their defensive half. No matter if it looks scary or not, BPC made it work. And Florida, once again, are playing from their back line and can't seem to penetrate through this Bruton Parker midfield structure.
Raid in an awkward spot, and that's a great bump as well from Florida to deny a potential shot. Here comes a counter. Hammy could dunk Cass right here, but Cass is able to use what little boost he had left to make something happen. Also, Larry's shot is blocked off. Hammy, though, has a free ball, a pre-jump Manny, a flip reset that he uses too early. Now Larry looks top corner, bar down. Hammy won't be able to go because Raid called him off, and now a potential flick middle here. Cass is there. No, Larry's there. Another Florida whiff directly in front of the Baron net, and they are still down 2.
Still, they needed one of those to go in. That was so many chances to score. And now Antics on the other end was located by Manny with a nice pass, but his shot was just a little bit off. I think saved either way, but it's still time wasted for the Barons. And now Manny across the pitch to Cass. Cass will play high. Antics won't move in to shoot. As you see, are playing a smart third-man position here, making sure Florida has no way back into this game.
A minute left to go, and a redirect from Cass will do a pretty good job answering that question. And how about a goal just to make sure? 65 seconds left to go, and Bruton Parker may just be sending us a 5.
Oh, it's a beautiful redirection. Puts Raid into tough spots, and Antics bets on it the whole way there. Is ready for the miss and taps it in as it happens. BPC have now scored 5 consecutive goals here. They've gone on a run just like Florida did earlier in this series, and Champions Field is looking like a certain destination here in a big-time winner semifinal match.
Make it number 4. For the Bruton Parker Barons. This right here is the style and the domination you expect out of one of the best varsity programs in our league. And now it's going to be a really interesting story to see how can Florida recover, or is it too late?
I don't think it is too late. I think this team can talk it through. They can find a way back, but Bruton Parker is back to that form in the SCL where even if you are playing some of your best Rocket League, I think we're going to question if you can stop them. Their offense looks so good. Their passes look so much better. And honestly, this has been a tale of 2 different Baron teams in this series. Games 1 and 2, they weren't looking like this. They weren't making good bumps, good passes, good shots, and I don't know what happened at all that switched things for BPC. They must have had some words of wisdom imparted upon them, because since then, it's been 6 consecutive goals and 2 shutout victories.
I mean, I would even argue that we've seen 4 separate teams. This Florida roster, even when they were winning, they were not bumping each other. They were not double committing to this degree that we've seen in games 3 and 4 combined. And so for them, they've got to find their footing at the right time. And for Bruton Parker, you will take every free goal you can get, because Florida's given up more than 1 thus far in the last 2 games.
I can understand more mistakes out of Florida. There's so much to deal with now compared to the first couple of games, and having to read that little bits in defense is maybe causing more panic, more hesitation as they have to pick up their pace and get frustrated in offense, I'm sure. So many close opportunities right out in front of the BPC net, as they had 7 shots, but 5 of those went unsaved by the Barons, and that's difficult. Those kinds of opportunities have to go in when the goals are right there. But credit to Bruton Parker. They were playing good toe ball there for a little while on Driftwoods. They just get a little chunk of the ball, and that was enough to buy time for the next man up, and eventually they worked to clear.
Well, regardless, Florida will now be in their 2nd game 5. Their very first one was winners round 1 against Kennesaw State B. They did win that in 5. They managed to take care of Bruton Parker Academy in 3, but now you go against the bigger brother, and you have made it this far against one of the best teams, potentially the best once we get down to the end of the season, team in the SCL. But man, this would hurt if you can't find Champions Field in your favor.
Oh, here we go. Game 5 on the main SCL stream, and Bruton Parker off kickoff are already weaving webs of passes together in that Florida end, but so far, the Gators have managed to find a stop, even with True Raid backwards right there, though BPC are putting the clamps on in this offensive end, and with Manny having a full tank of boost here, an extra flip to work with, and a whole lot of momentum going forward, I think BPC will keep Florida on that back foot for a little while.
you're looking for something to keep your eyes glued on, be keen on if Florida will actually get the chance to shoot this game or if they will continue to miss shots this game. Because that right there was verbatim. Games 3 and 4. They barely got any offense, and now they're getting a whole lot of defense as Raid gets a crazy and one on his own goal line to make sure he gets that save. Manny could still find a chance, though, but like I mentioned, it's looking like Game 4. Game 3. Florida struggling to get out of their half early on here. Bruton Parker's trying to end it now.
Well, they're not conceding, at the very least, despite all this good Bruton Parker pressure. Ooh. And in fact, they've completely flipped the script. We're sitting at serious possession numbers from BPC at the moment. And in the first minute 7, it's Florida on top.
Florida scored first for the first time since Game 2, I believe. And granted, even they were able to get Game 1 when Bruton Park got the lead, but at least now you get to play your game, but you do have to do it for 4 more minutes. This is a critical 1v1, though. Hammy can make it a 2-goal lead right here. Loses possession, though. Counterattack could be in order, but both Bruton Parker attackers turn off completely. Raid lets Cass go so that he can bump him. Larry cuts Hammy, and what is a pool shot down the left side of the pitch. Hammy, though, everything playing into his strategy. He's going to get a chance here, but that touch is too heavy to make anything major happen. Beat comes through. Net is open. Hammy's dunked. Ball is off. One goes back on too high. Larry has a 1v1. Needs to find a shot. Top right is blocked by Cass. Hammy now off the backboard again. Antics will finally try to take some possession and slow things down, but Florida would have loved to get that one there because this is in! And you let that go after chance after chance after chance.
How does this go in? Larry is tracking back defensively, and Manny puts that ball in the one spot where Larry couldn't make a save. Manny has been such a difference maker in the back half of this series for Bruton Parker as he looked awkward at the start. I mean, he was making defensive misses. His miss was the reason why Florida got back in that Game 1. And now he's looking so effective offensively, and Cass has just beaten the entire Florida back line to add to the Gator pain.
I thought it couldn't be true. Gets the fake on one. Bump comes through, and then a clean bar down for him. It took a few bounces, but Bruton Parker, 2 in a row.
3 minutes to go. It's not done just yet for the Gators, but they can't let Bruton Parker ride this wave of momentum. After it started off well for UF, at least in the scoring department, they were still playing a lot of defense, but if you can operate in counterattack mode and play a ton of defense well, you can win games, especially when you just need one to escape from this series where Bruton Parker have stormed back after a lackluster beginning and now lead by 2 in Game 5.
Very confusing comms here for Florida. Larry was off the backboard coming down, and Raid was just waiting for his time to shine, and both players make the rough call to go for it. Don't win the 50 in the 2v1, and Manny frees up his team to continue to take advantage of the Florida errors. And now Florida in a really tough spot here at the halftime point of Game 5.
Have to find their way back somehow through the dark path carved out by them by Bruton Parker. But Hammy off the sidewall with a ton of boosts. It's a pretty good start, though. There's not enough presence on the goal line as Larry was kind of hung up there on the far side post, maybe looking for a bit of pressure that he wasn't able to find. So 2 minutes left. Florida are still showing good signs offensively of an ability to get back into this game, but they've got to stop conceding. That's a good read by True Raid, and his subsequent 50 is even better. So Florida do wiggle their way out of a tough spot right there.
It is purely confusing for Florida as miscommunication continues here as Larry wants his solo play, but it's going to be a weak pass over to Raid, who will try to play off his teammate's bump, but Bruton Parker was doubled up in their net there. That's a great flip reset as they double one of their own, but the possession is still in their favor, and the boost amounts may not be in their favor, but Florida has yet to punish them like they were able to do so earlier in this series. This ball goes middle. Ray does get a great 50. Hammy could put a shot on. He opts for the pass to Larry, but now it's a 1v1. Cass could try and call game early. Does get it over to Manny, who will now get his stab at it. Under 90 seconds to go. Manny's got more. Manny's got a reset. Manny's got a goal that could potentially be the dagger.
Manny again steps up for his team. Look at this solo effort here. Plays it off a defender there at the end with the sheer pace he had on that play. Off the sidewall, off the ceiling, and into the back of the Florida net. 4-1 Bruton Parker. We said you can't count them out, and they are backing up our words live on the SCL mainstream.
60 seconds to go. Florida needs some sort of swamp miracle for something to happen here. And it looks like Antics will try to deny that, taking full possession over to Cass, who almost snipes Antics back into his hood. But it will still be possession for Bruton Parker either way. Fake comes through, intentionally or unintentionally. It will work. Larry, reset backboard. Antics was waiting on it like he's sitting at a campfire, just toasting the Florida offense. And it has been completely useless so far in this game, and Bruton Park continues to deny. Dump will not come through, and once again, it's just time and time again, Florida's momentum, Florida's energy is fading by the second.
Out of the corner, Larry will try and get something going for his Gators, but 20 seconds left, you need 3, and I'm just not sure that's going to happen. This is decent space for True Raid, but Antics gets bumped and still recovers to make a stop on the initial Florida try. Manny was credited for the save as he was there to back Antics up, and Bruton Parker confirm a reverse sweep against the Florida Gators, and even though Florida got their second finally in Game 5, it's not going to matter.
A series that you will look back on whenever Florida's losers run continues. You will look back and say, what could have changed if they just would have grabbed one more game? Hamy's gone AFK. This ball will hit the ground at Antics' discretion. Early GG's coming through, and that right there will do the end of it. Bruton Parker may look for one more, unless Antics finally decides to drop it down, going for another goal. Manny will finally be credited for a hat trick here in Game 5. And that right there, the nail in the coffin on what has been a great week for Florida fans up until now.
Yeah, that's some way to come down off of a basketball high for sure, as Manny unleashes a rah in chat at the very end, and you can't see it on the stream, but Manny's pumped up, and for good reason. TJ, he stepped up for his team, and the entire roster stepped up. It was across the board a raising of the tide, but Manny came alive those last 3 games.
It almost felt like seeing Manny return to what we expect. He's supposed to be the aggressor. He's supposed to be the momentum-based player, and he's always the loudest on this roster for really good reason, because he can take over a game just like that. But also, I was heavily impressed by, on the other side of the pitch, Raid looked really good throughout that series as well. It just seemed like that Florida lost all willpower and intention with the ball for the last 3 games.
I mean, once Bruton Parker kind of upped the ante and improved their play, that caused Florida to deteriorate just a little bit. Like I said in the middle of the series, when it started happening, those awkward double commits, those moments of hesitation on the Florida end seemed to be spiraling out of control, thanks to Bruton Parker just putting better offense down on the field, as Florida had so much more to stop. And that seemed to make their defense crumble in quality. But that Florida offense, I mean, they got stifled. They had good looks, just couldn't put the finishing touch on it and get their footing once they started slipping there in Game 3. But still, they will be a threat in the lower bracket, whoever they do end up playing down there. And for Bruton Parker, they just showed exactly why they are a threat against anybody in the SEL.
And they do have to go against Cumberland in winners finals, which will be on April 16th. But also, Florida may have to go against some tough opponents. The winner of UTD and KSUB will end up finding them, which we have also learned, thanks to our production team, that KSUB has subbed out Shady for, I don't know if you heard of this guy before, Bepic. Flitz is now in for KSUB as an active player.
Yeah, that's a development here this week, as Flitz is coming in, and it's led to a 3-0 sweep of George Mason, who should still be in fine position for LAN, but Kennesaw State's with that do keep themselves in the LAN conversation. And a quick note, the bracket on League OS is incorrect. Florida will drop down on the top side of the lower bracket, so they'll play the Bruton Parker Academy, FSC, all of them section, I do believe. And so that'll be the side of the bracket they are on, but still dangerous. I mean, UT Dallas and Kennesaw State on the bottom side, whoever does end up dropping in the Cumberland James Madison series, that's going to be wild. Do we have more results to talk through?
I mean, in losers, it's pretty simple. Your Auburn boys have unfortunately bowed out to USC 3-0.
Yeah.
And then Bruton Parker won a Game 5 thriller against Florida Southern. So both Bruton Parker teams just barely survive in crazy Game 5s. Also worth noting, Bruton Parker Academy almost got reverse swept. Won game 1 and 2 by 2 goals, then lost games 3 and 4 by many goals, and then won game 5 2-1. So both teams having their fair share of scares, but surviving nonetheless. And then obviously you mentioned that KSU UTD game, which I have no idea how that's going to go. And also James Madison's in a beautiful spot to hopefully clinch land with one more win in losers.
All right, so, well, we've got our interview ready, though. I believe we've got Manny coming into the booth with us. So let's pull him in, see if we can't have a nice conversation about what Bruton Parker just did. Manny, are you there? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up, guys? How y'all doing? I'm doing good.
Doing great. Thanks for putting on a show for us right there. First question I got for you: what on earth clicked for you guys? Because games 1 and 2 compared to games 3 through 5, completely night and day series for you.
I'm gonna be honest. I have no clue. I know we were banging the ball around a lot the first couple games. I think some of the comms were off, maybe a little late. I really don't know. I think the whole time I was really just trying to put my all into it. Not to say that like my teammates did bad or anything. We all did good. You know, I may have just been unfortunate mistakes or whatever, but I'm glad we put out and got the dub.
Well, it did work out overall, and you will have a date with Cumberland in the winners final next week. But I'm going to ask you a non-game related question first. When'd you get a haircut?
When did I get a haircut? I think in like
This is not
January.
the Manny we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
it was before we came back from Christmas break. Like my dad gives me haircuts, so I just got one when I was home.
W. Manny Father. Well, I have an actual
sir.
game-related question as well. You've managed Florida 2 seasons in a row. You have not had to play Cumberland in the SCL 2 seasons in a row. What should we expect up in winners finals?
I mean, we're gonna be trying to study them as best as we can, put all of our work in to make it a close series. Hopefully, just win. I mean, we would love to win all of this split to be able to make it to CECC. So it's gonna be tough. They're a crazy talented team. I can't tell you how many times I've lost the night yet, but hopefully we'll be able to work hard and bring it out.
You guys showcased your ability to play from kind of the worst of spots in that series against Florida. They were playing really well. You found a way back. You've been at the top of the SCL for a long time. I'm sure that just sparks more fear into the rest of the league, but you're doing it with a different roster this semester. I mean, talk about what it's been like playing with Cass in the lineup as he came to Bruton Parker this semester. And I mean, you guys have stayed near the top of CRL. So what's the team dynamic like?
Yeah, so I think when we were playing with Milk, and even before Milk, when we were playing with Solus or Soul, however you're going to call his name, we played a very 1-2 pass back and forth play style, just cutting in the rotation, and then third kind of just stayed back and did his thing until he had to come into the play. But when we got a little bit towards getting Milk into the team, but more so getting Cass into the team, we really had to switch it up. We thought that style wasn't really working anymore. We had to try and go from the back to the default rotation, the 1 to 2 to 3 man. It's been kind of rough going back and forth because I mean, since my time at Bruton Parker, I've basically just been learning that rotation as I've come from a low B player to what I am now. So, but I mean, we're getting used to it, and I'm glad that how we've been looking recently.
All right. Well, best of luck against Cumberland next week. Last question. We got Bruton Parker Academy versus South Carolina on stream next. Who you got in that series?
That's a question. Come on. Bruton Parker B team. Bruton Parker Academy team. Easy dubs. Light work. Come on. GG easy no re. Come on.
All right. He believes. Let's see what happens, though. Bruton Parker Academy in South Carolina coming up next. Manny, thanks for joining us in the booth.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Bye, Manny.
Bye.
All right, break time. We're going to break down the rest of the results after a couple of minutes off, TJ, because we got a big one coming up next as both those two squads try to secure land spots. BPC Academy need a run. South Carolina just need probably just one more win, and they should be in Huntsville. But that's coming up on the other side of this break. It's SCL Rocket League, sponsored by MSI. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Southeastern Esports League on the Rocket League side, sponsored by MSI, where playoff action continues deep into the night. And we've had a lot of action already unfold as we have eliminated 4 of our 12 playoff teams, TJ. And there are some other heated battles going on elsewhere around the SEL.
Yeah, not to mention that KSUB and Texas Dallas are currently in a very heated game 5 in what is losers, I guess technically quarters, but either way, they're fighting for land, both those teams are. So a very big game 5 currently going on over on Flitz's Twitch channel right now, and it's within 2 goals, a minute to go. So we'll have to see how that one goes. We'll give you updates, but also we now have the other losers match to follow, and 2 very hot stories in Bruton Parker Academy, the newcomers, and USCA, and they are the veterans.
They are. I mean, 2/3 of this roster won an SEL season way back in the day, and they are still kicking here in Season 5 in a decent position to qualify for LAN, but a win here would all but guarantee it for the Gamecocks. And need to clutch up against Bruton Parker Academy, who just came off of a narrow Game 5 win against Florida Southern, and if they can survive against that pesky Florida Southern team in Game 5, then I'm sure they're feeling good about coming in and playing South Carolina.
You can never count South Carolina out, though, because no matter how they show up on the day, this is one of the only teams in this loser's bracket who consistently has each other's backs at all times. And also, of all the selfless first men, or I guess top players on rosters, Og does that role beautifully. He can play second man, he can play third man, he can flip the switch at any given moment, and Katz and SJT play around him beautifully. But as I mentioned his name, SJT, one of the most impressive stories I've seen in the SEL this season.
Definitely. Had big shoes to fill after Solar graduated last year and has filled them so well. Cut his teeth on the B team last season and then popped up to the main roster and has looked so good, especially in the spring. I know you and I have been super impressed with what he has been able to do on LAN, online. It hasn't mattered for South Carolina. He has elevated this roster, and they're playing some of the best Rocket League that I've seen from South Carolina in a long time in the SEL. So against BPC Academy, genuinely, I don't know who I have as favorites here.
Well, I can at least pick a player on the other side, and that is Milk. He was previously the lower member on the A-team roster. He was then moved down for Cass to take his place, and he now takes the captain role in what has been an academy team that's felt like something he's been constructing since day number 1. He looks incredible around Kurup and Kyler. And also, you want to talk about freshman phenom stories, Kyler is right up there with SJT.
Definitely. I mean, I got to watch him first last summer when he was coming into the Bruton Parker program. And in my Monday Night Lights tournament that I hosted, the dude was popping off. I thought he was for sure an A-team player before I got word that Milk was coming back. And that roster ended up sticking for the fall. And now, I mean, he's popping back up on this BPC Academy team whose defense I think I've really been impressed with. I talked about it on State of the SEL with them shutting down Florida on stream earlier in the season, watching them play in show matches and other leagues, and how their defense can step up and stifle the best offenses on the field. So against South Carolina, I mean, they're going to have their work cut out for them with the individual talents of Og, the facilitator role that Katz plays so well, SJT and his ability to pop off in a series. But BBC Academy plays so composed. Should be a good set.
I mean, Bruton Parker being the newcomers to the madness of the SCL. Well, Milk not, but the other two being newcomers. They got to be locked in, and I can already tell you that they're not entirely locked in. They are currently sitting in their own lobby away from where we're at. So we are getting the Bruton Parker Academy boys in here, and we will have the Rocket League action coming to your screens in just a second. But I will flip the narrative once again, because when it comes to Bruton Parker Academy, you mentioned USC and their tenure in the SCL, very up and down as the league's gotten even better, but they found themselves in these playoffs for a reason, and Bruton Parker are just as deserving of this spot as well. Bruton Parker's the only school with 2 teams that sit in really crucial spots here in this playoff, and also the only school, I think, in SCL history to have 2 teams who confirmed a top 2 spot in Tier 1 in 2 different pools. They are truly dominant in their own fashion.
They are, and Milk leading the charge for this Academy roster is a big part of that, but he's got great pieces around him. I mean, Corrupt is a very smart player as well, and we will get to watch them now as they have popped into our streamed lobby. But this series, such an interesting clash of styles, and with so much on the line for both of these rosters, it's going to be a fight. As South Carolina, like I said, one more win essentially clinches land for them, but for BPC Academy, they're in the same boat as the rest of the team. They didn't play in the fall or make playoffs in the fall. They need top 4.
It is all just the start for a team like Bruton Parker Academy. And I know after how Bruton Parker's last SCL LAN went, with them having to sub out players at the last minute and having to come with a different roster, they're going to want this one bad, Milk included. And he's got to fight for it here in game number 1, our last series of the night.
Well, Milk on LAN last semester was one of the only starting players to actually play on that LAN. And with Agni and Sino, he led them to a top 3 spot on LAN. And here, we'll see what he can do the rest of playoffs. Of course, Corrupt and Kyler, a big part of this Academy team that will have to find big stops against a threatening South Carolina offense that already had Og on the ball, looking threatening downfield, but that is a nice initial stop by Academy.
In a weird way, if Milk is able to play up to the par of someone like Og, who's been at the top of the scene for so long, Vivek, I think we have a mirror matchup on our hands, because I think if you go bar for bar, SJT and Kyler, Corrupt and Cats, we may see extremely similar team dynamics, but I also don't know out of the X factors on any member of that team who can actually come out and make a stand, and it will not be Milk or Corrupt. Kyler's awkward as well, and that right there is some critical errors from the Academy squad.
Big chance missed. I mean, that's a gong of failure if I've ever heard one, as Bruton Parker Academy sent a big potential opening goal off the post, and now South Carolina can punish them. SJT finds Cats, and they both hit the post as well. It's infectious at the moment. We have no goals, but plenty of chances.
Well, when I meant mirror matchup, I didn't exactly mean to the exact play. Very surprising to see mistakes come out from not only Bruton Parker, but also the USC side of things. They normally never make errors that glaring, especially this semester where both on and off LAN, I mentioned this point about Florida, and I can say the same about USC, they truly do look at their best.
And that's been throughout this spring semester. I mean, this is where they went out in the fall, I believe, in 7th and 8th in that bracket, if not earlier. And so for South Carolina being in a pretty good spot here, despite the competition levels increasing in Academy, well, putting good looks in the general vicinity of net, South Carolina are surviving in chances of their own, but Academy are going to be kicking themselves. They can't start hitting shots soon.
Overall, pretty slow midfield play here. A lot of just slow 50s or early rips, like a flick here from Cats, but he will actually be able to stay in the play here. Will look middle, but miscommunication between his hands and his controller won't be able to stay on this one. As now Milk has room to go to work, but Og is there to set that 1v1 off on his favor. Cats will pop it up for what should be a teammate, but it's going to be a Bruton Parker Baron up. So that's a phrase we got used to hearing a lot at the end of the last series, and spoiler alert, you're going to hear it probably a lot in this series too, because both those teams do have somewhat similar play styles. So for USC, I'm not sure what they've been labbing, but they also did get decent experience. I don't remember exactly which Group 1 pool they were in, as I was going to double check my point, but they actually did play this Bruton Parker Academy squad. I don't have that score lined up just yet, but I don't remember it being this messy.
Well, I don't know if we watched that one, but I can't imagine it was. This seems like a one-off for both teams as opportunities continue to fall by the wayside. Cats has another one stopped here by Milk as the backline defense with the aid of the woodwork has been effective. That's another one off the crossbar, and now gets back for the next stop. And it's still 0-0 as both sides are racking up shots.
I mean, Bevik, you've been involved in the SCL for what feels like a decade, and I've been there for probably half of that time at least, and I don't remember seeing chaos to this degree, but finally, we see a goal come through. Bruton Parker Academy does the striking first.
Well, this is what Bud's at GSU versus Alabama looked like in the last chance qualifier in the fall. But beside the point, because these teams are actually now starting to score, perhaps. Bruton Parker Academy have gotten their first goal. Maybe it's just taking a couple of minutes to really settle in here as South Carolina. Now, another opportunity is that one couldn't go on target. I'm sure it would have been saved and collected by Academy if it had been. But SJT cuts a shot back that is too wide of its target to fall in, and with 60 seconds left, South Carolina's fighting from behind.
Double commit for South Carolina as well. It's going to open up Milk a chance to just simply take his time and beat one player. It's an awkward touch, and it won't be a bump either, as Kyler forced an even more awkward spot, but now the possession is completely given away, but Cats almost had a wide open net to shoot on. If only he had a pad of boost to use, but still could be a chance. That's on net. Corrupt completely whiffs, and Og ties it up.
Such a quick shot ripped on target here by Og, and Corrupt was in position, just not ready to stop it. And I think he realized Og was on that just a half second too late, so South Carolina have themselves an answer here. And I'm glad to see it. With how many opportunities both sides have had, how many have gone off the woodwork, I wanted to see both teams get at least one to keep us playing at even standing with the offenses operating at maybe not full capacity, but pretty high level of capacity. Another good shot, this time great save by a player on the field.
SJT reset air dribble, trying to find a chance for Cats. That is on net, but Kyler is able to backflip his way towards Milk. We got overtime looming. Very dark over the heads of every single player here, but USC had their chances in the back half of this game. They could still find some more. Cats to potentially call game here. That 50 is too easy. It's going to go in. 0 seconds left. SJT calls game.
Look at Cats set this up, though. Great 50-50. It almost falls in, but it sets up SJT for a phenomenal finish to give South Carolina the win in game one. Overtime was looming over all of our heads there after a sloppy start, but South Carolina pull it together in the waning moments of regulation, and off the back of 16 shots, find a way to escape with a win.
Man, what in the world was that? The shot totals are, first of all, absurd from USC. 16 total. And Bruton Parker did have 10 of their own, but look at the save difference. That right there is key. Bruton Parker's shots really didn't force USC into awkward positions. But meanwhile, USC is on a tear on the other half.
And we'll see what version of these teams we get going into game two if we have settled in a little bit. I mean, it's a best of 5, so obviously you want game one, you want that good start, but there is still time for BPC Academy to get back into this thing because their possession numbers weren't terrible. It was 60-40 in favor of South Carolina there. Field domination was, and the opportunities were good from Bruton Parker Academy. If they were hitting their shots, especially the open net at the start, they probably could have had 3 or 4 goals in game one, but a slow start costs them game one, but still, they are showing signs of an ability to easily get back into this set.
You could also flip that storyline directly around. I mean, if both teams would have put in their open nets, we might have been looking at a 6-5 or a 4-5 game or something absurd like that. So both teams have to be able to step back and reset. And for USC, I mean, they're veterans of the SEL and what it brings. You will take any games you can grab, especially with land on the line in Cat's senior season.
He is fighting for a spot on land here. Send himself out with the league that he's been a part of for as long as I can remember. This team won back in season 2 and have been fairly dominant at times and at the top of the SEL for every single semester since then. So it's only fitting they get a chance on land here this spring, but they still do have to earn it. And a win here would go a long ways for them. This is a good start. Og with a redirection off the backboard was trying to put that in, and Cats was demoed, so he couldn't finish the play off himself. So a chance for South Carolina falls by the wayside, but I'm sure there are more to come.
I do want to take a very brief moment as SJT sends that ball flying to talk about what happened in the group stage between these two teams. Bruton Parker did confirm the second seed in this group, don't get me wrong, but it should have been a clean 6-1 to put them at second in the group stage. But instead, 5-2 came in the last week of regular season where USC beat this roster in 5 and confirmed that tiebreaker. And if they would have been able to sweep them, they unironically could have been the second seed in their group, or at least giving Florida that spot. But Bruton Parker slowly but surely trying to flip that back in their favor, finding the first goal once again.
And here's that answer. Great shot by Corrupt. Very much on target. And SJT was in position, a little bit awkward on the goal line, but Corrupt shots proved too difficult for him right there. And Academy off the back of some good defense and a big chance downfield. Have a lead, but we'll see if they can keep this one.
Kyler, awkward touch. Cats waiting in the wings for it. Not able to find his touch, though. That ball will go flying towards the veteran's way, but not able to exactly find his touch on it just yet. Corrupt, a heavy first touch that will actually pop him in the air. Og, another rush touch off the side wall. Many players not wanting to spend any time in the midfield. And SJT side flips out of the way here. He's going to let Og go instead, whether it was intentional or not. Has room to look for his teammate, but the Gamecocks can't link up here. Cats goes back down, gives Milk an open corner, but once again, the shot woes continue for Bruton Parker Academy. Now it was tough, but for Milk of all people, I'm expecting that one to be in.
Not the time for Bruton Parker Academy to turn into a trio of musicians playing the chimes all throughout the first game and a half of this series, but they still do hold a lead. Their defense still has been effective against South Carolina on Forbidden Temple, and Milk can try and get the ball away now and turn more successful defense into another chance to extend this lead, but he's taken out from behind by Cats, and Og is in a similar position. Low on boost, but some space to clear, though Milk shuts him down, gets a double tap opportunity, and his car runs just ahead of, and Corrupt. The miss right there made things a little bit strange on the near side of USC.
I must be honest, it's feeling a little too similar to how Bruton Parker, the A-team, showed out in games 1 and 2. I would hope for USC's sake that they are able to clinch up and maybe control this game, but off the corner of their own net, back into Cats, the ball will go. Corrupt, another double tap. This time he hits it down, but SJT, what a save. Now off the backboard, will be read by Og. Free ball for Kyler. The freshman phenom is taken off the pitch. Og will now use a flip to go directly towards Corrupt. Cats will work this one away. Just about 90 seconds to go here, and USC is in no rush to push it, but they have to find something soon.
I think SJT was expecting that kind of backboard miss out of Bruton Parker, and so it doesn't lead to a goal for South Carolina, but doesn't lead to any chances for BPC immediately either, and USC will confirm possession continued in that Bruton Parker end, but Corrupt does best Og there in a race to the ball, though it's not a complete win. That will be, though. Milk downfield finds Corrupt, who is going up off that ceiling read, but SJT makes a stop defensively and does miss his next touch up, though Og and Cats are back on the goal line for South Carolina and can help find a clear, but it's SJT to sign off on it.
He's got room and not a lot of boost to work with. It's too easy for Milk, who gets a great read and what's a great double down into the USC corner, wasting plenty of time. He will be taken off the ball, though, because Cats is trying to take a sweet time. SJT off the ceiling has Og in the wing. Og goes top right. What a save by Milk. Cats is there, dunked somewhat by Corrupt to at least stall out a potential attack, but now it's in the hands of Og, who's got room to bump a player. He won't find it, though. Milk is extremely patient. He was on a defensive masterclass last game, but now with the game on the line, he may need to do it one more time. Flick goes high. Another touch away from Milk. He's got, I don't think as many saves as last game, but it feels like he's got a million, and he will be able to clinch this game, getting the MVP of this game fittingly.
This is such a Bruton Parker Academy game right here. 1-0 as South Carolina's shots were limited, but 4 out of the 5 of them were saved by the back line of BPC Academy. Everyone got involved, but you're right, Milk was massive there. Clearing space downfield for Academy. 2 saves making up half of what Academy put up on their goal line, and 7 shots on target. He was lighting up the scoreboard everywhere except for the goal-scoring department, where Corrupt had him covered. And that was a big-time shot that forced an awkward moment out of South Carolina's back line, and that was the difference on Forbidden Temple.
A huge difference between games 1 and 2. South Carolina, I believe their tally was, what, 16 shots? Now they had 5 this game, so we're talking 11 shots just vanishing out of thin air. I'm a little confused as to what happened to the USC offense, but I think it's more so a testament to Bruton Parker playing the way they wanted to, at least in the back half of that game, because they are starting to survive with the sloppiness of the SEL, but you've got to do it for a full best of 5, and we're in losers as well, and you've still got land in front of you. Both these teams still have land in front of them, and there's a long way to the top.
Pressure on the shoulders of both teams here, as Milk seemed in high spirits when he made his cameo appearance in our interview with Manny in the camera. But right now, I'm sure he's completely locked in, knowing what's on the line here, as I know BPC want to send 2 teams to Huntsville later next month. Still, need more games here. That's just the first. But Milk's got space now and has beaten everybody, though it's not tapped in immediately. Kyler does follow up the play eventually, and BPC Academy score first.
Kyler joins the scoring tally, and it is the first one for Bruton Parker in a game once again. And they've slowly got to learn how to parlay that into more, because these close margin games aren't the most comfortable, both for us and them on the pitch.
Kyler, 40 boost in hand, gets a crafty tuck to the corner. Dimes up Milk, and Milk will slot his shots. Bruton Parker Academy are leveling up in offense.
What a touch from Kyler, saving the flip for late, using the soft side of the underbelly of the car, snipes Milk's hood, and Milk puts it bottom right. That right there are the plays you expect from the varsity Titans in Bruton Parker.
And now they don't need to work as hard defensively to get this game win here in Game 3, though I'm sure they will if they ever relinquish possession, as BPC Academy win the next kickoff and keep their field domination number growing. Might keep their goal tally growing as well, but Cats moves in to find a big stop for his Gamecocks. Can't convert possession into South Carolina's name. So BPC Academy take full advantage, have so much boost to work with now, and can just play with that South Carolina defense how they like.
Milk finds a demo. It's going to open up the floor for Corrupt to get demoed. Milk is now going to flip over 2, and it's still somehow saved. Kyler's got a net to shoot at, and Og gets the and 1 save off the ceiling of his own net. Now Milk will try to make something happen, but USC surviving, but they've got to get out of their half confidently. These bangs downfield are only doing minimal damage to the Bruton Parker Academy armor, and now the counterattack is back on, and these demos keep on increasing.
Oh, that's a crafty pass from Cats. Awkward bounce off the sidewall for him, but he still got back to it and now can turn at the midfield line, but Milk gets through him again. Is truly taking over the first man role for BPC Academy and now setting up Corrupt for a potential shot if Corrupt was facing the play, but he'd already turned away. So South Carolina find a stop, but not a clear just yet. Cats is in a similar position, back turned to the ball, but he collects in his corner. Doesn't have a ton of boost to work with. He does grab 100 at the end of the play, but not before Kyler took the ball from him.
Milk will call Corrupt off, and it's because Kyler's actually got a chance on the backboard here. Double tap for the Phenom. It's his second of the game.
And Kyler has finally made an impression on this series here. He was a little bit quiet in previous games, but now he really is stepping up in a pivotal moment for BPC Academy. His touches have been phenomenal so far. With that pass center in the last goal for BPC Academy, and right there, the shot on target. And now in defense, he finds one stop, and Og's shot goes too high, so there isn't a second one necessary out of the Barons. But South Carolina do get there first here as SJT finds a big shot on target after Cats cleared a path.
That's directly out of the USC playbook. First man goes for the demo. Second man puts full faith in him. Wide open net is the result. And we almost are halfway through Game 3 here. And USC's got a decent amount of ground to make up, but 2 goals is nothing impossible for the Gamecocks.
No, certainly not. They aren't the team to go down by multiple goals and call it quits from there. They can absolutely find a way back. The comeback potential for this team is ever present, but BPC Academy have leveled up, as I said, though they've got defensively some tests to pass still with a half a game of Rocket League left, and South Carolina seemingly upping their field domination numbers.
Og, a very bold dive that will have to be a fake because it was a little egregious from him. And now he dives on Kyle. We'll take him off the ball, but Corrupt fakes for Milk. Whole lot of 4D chess being played. Top right was the goal for Milk, but instead his teammates and himself are denied. Kyler by himself in the USC half. Reset, dunk. Og is backwards. Katz is also backwards. Does recover, but Kyler could have a shot here. SJT will block it off for the time being. Corrupt will take a stab at it, but again, decent 50 for USC, but other than the one goal they found off of a great team play with the bumps, that's all they found this game. And the bumps have been in, I guess, lacking degree compared to Bruton Parker, who have been all over the USC team, at least in this half of the series. And now USC has a chance. We'll look for a corner, but now it could be a 1v1. Kyler wants to waste some time. He tried to cut it back.
Oh, wow.
That might just be on the net instead. The third man's nowhere to be found. Milk was on the side for a pass, and Bruton Parker sell another one.
SJT, I mean that's a tough challenge to take for Kyler. SJT outdoes him, but you're right, Corrupt maybe should have been back right there. VPC had their sights set on offense when South Carolina weren't done with their possession just yet. 3-2. The Gamecocks are marching back on DFH Stadium. Just need 1 in 75 seconds, and that is more than doable, but Kyler stops what could have been a good play for South Carolina in its tracks as he dodges the homing missile that SJT became and forces the Gamecocks to try again.
I only mentioned selling in the previous goal because it's South Carolina. You have to expect the bumps. You have to expect the team coordination. And Bruton Parker, a team with not a lot of expectations to follow, but a lot that they would love to complete this season. But right now, everything is being thrown on the line as they have somehow given away another.
I mean, that's a miss in the corner. Corrupt needs that touch. Otherwise, Milk has to make an insane read on the goal line, predicting exactly where the shot's going, and South Carolina will not let him as they storm back. This was a 3-0 Bruton Parker Academy lead at one point, and the Gamecocks seem to have just sat up in their chairs and locked in here, scoring 3 straight and really not relinquishing control of the offense.
Katz looks for SJT, but 2 players whiff there, and luckily for Milk, he has a little bit of time, does whiff there, and now Og has a great setup. He's not going to go ceiling just yet, though. Wants to go for a reset, will get it, but not before Kyler intercepts. Corrupt is off his own ceiling. Katz is going for the net. Milk is all by his lonesome on the defensive side once again. He is able to stall some time, but look at the amount of room here for USC. Og is past one. Heavy touch. Will be able to dunk Corrupt. Could go for one more. Doesn't exactly land the way he wants to, and that's a great pass down to Corrupt from Milk. USC will be the final sayers, I guess, about what are they going to do unless Bruton Parker finds a dunk here. Bump comes through. Second man is nowhere to be found, and welcome to overtime.
That's an overtime that we were gypped of in game 1 as South Carolina won in crunch time on 0 seconds. It was Katz and SJT to win it there, and now in offense. About 15 seconds in, and it is everyone for South Carolina. This is still Rocket League. Everyone's contributing to possession, but who will be the player to score an ever pivotal next goal here? A winning team gets match point and is 1 game away from, for South Carolina, getting extremely close to clinching land, and for BBC Academy taking 1 big step forward towards clinching themselves here. Nothing so far in the first 40, and we'll go back and forth fighting for possession.
Nothing is paid for either one of these teams. As much as I want to say that both teams have had to completely earn it, it feels like the USC was almost gifted 2 goals in this series. And Bruton Parker did a great job early on, but now you can tell that there is some hesitancy. There is some slight trust issues in the midfield, and also some whiffs here, like Milk with not a lot of boots trying to make something happen. And that ball goes directly into USC's arms. Bruton Parker still has no boost to work with, and this ball is floated up middle. Nobody goes immediately, though. Corrupt off the high side. We'll have Milk, who goes for a dunk on SJT. It's a great touch from SJ, though, to end up finding Og. And now it could be a shot. It's a soft tap middle. Nobody's there. Katz is by himself. Not a lot of boost. Kyler finds a wide open net for Milk, and Bruton Parker will not be denied, even if they cause their own faults. They do go to match point.
Hey, it's just extra reps here in Game 3. BPC find a way to win a game that was slipping through their fingers. Quick reaction test right there as they catch it before it hits the ground and take things in a 6.5-minute game here where South Carolina, off the back of a big-time SJT hat trick, but great space creation for those goals. Staged a great comeback, just couldn't complete it in OT. But look at those offensive numbers. Kyler and Milk, 13 shots combined, 4 goals combined. Corrupt was able to just sit back and watch that game.
I mean, it's been the same story for Cats as well, other than the demo goal earlier in that game. Both the third man of these rosters are having a blast. They're really not being required to do too much, and I'm almost begging for one of them to step up because it's a missing aspect of the rotation. The fill-in second man or the confident third man is something we haven't seen in this series, and I really wish the chat could see the replay of these goals as well because I would almost argue the first man's been non-existent as well.
I mean, there were some third man mistakes where they were moving up too quickly for BPC Academy for sure. Corrupt had some misses there in defense that if they don't get cleaned up could come back to bite them, but Corrupt's had good games already in this series. So just an off one right there where the team still gets the win. And so going forward, Bruton Parker Academy are on match point, and it's South Carolina needing another comeback, this time in games.
Or could we see USC potentially force us to 5? And as I mentioned him, Cats will step up and say, I can still do it.
He wants land bad. Look at this double. Takes the opening kickoff and turns it into an opening goal. 6 seconds. And South Carolina do what they could not in overtime. And that's score a big-time finisher. It's a statement here on Driftwoods as they will need 2 consecutive games to keep on going in the SCL postseason. But Bruton Parker Academy, they can play from behind just fine.
I mean, Bruton Parker has somehow managed to find 2 Game 5s in one night, and they are 1 game away from finding 3 as a program. It would be one of those weird trivia questions that I'm sure Bepic would love to whip out on land this year, but we are 1 game away, again, and a very determined USC team from that happening. But also, USC, it's their first time, I believe, all series scoring first. I don't think they have at all. And so for Bruton Parker, now they're finally on their back foot for the majority of this game. How are they going to find their way back? And they almost don't get a chance. In fact, they will not. They're going to have to come back from 2 goals now.
And this is just simple corner play here. I mean, SJT beats Milk and puts a shot on target-ish that makes Kyler hesitate a second here. I think he had more space than he actually did. Or I think he thought he had more space than he actually did. And let's all come in. Again, that's that first man on the ball challenges that you're talking about, TJ, where South Carolina are able to jump in and dominate a challenge like that. Now it's led to more goals.
Ball falls high into the hands of SJT. Cats is there to try and keep the offense moving, but regardless, USC's got 2 goals now of wiggle room to go to Game 5. And Bruton Parker has a long way to go because mechanically they are truly struggling. This could be another open net, and that it is. Cats will find another goal. And what is happening for Bruton Parker?
I mean, I don't know. Milk's got no boost. He's trying to track back, and Corrupt rotating in. They're just half steps behind this transition, but it starts with an awkward touch to the midfield line that Og takes full advantage of. Puts the ball hard on target, and Cats realize situation. He reacts fast himself, and South Carolina are punishing all mistakes, but don't let this 3-goal lead fool ya. We've seen one already get lost in this series just last game, so the Gamecocks have to keep their foot on the gas pedal as Bruton Parker Academy, I'm sure, a team that won't let their confidence in themselves waver no matter the scoreline.
I mean, I still want to mention that scoreline just ever slightly because after Bruton Parker did struggle very heavily in the last game, it has been a 6-1 scoring swing for USC. Now, granted, Bruton Parker got the 1 goal that matters out of those, but these 3 right here could matter desperately if they're not able to find a comeback of their own. And USC on defense is something that I think many of us in chat are willing to bet on.
50-50 with Kyler is pretty dominated at the midfield line. Sets up Bruton Parker Academy for maybe a clear, but things are getting weird at that midfield line still. Even with the win for BPC Academy, it's Cats with an opportunity to score, though Kyler makes a great read on the goal line, and boy, has he stepped up the last couple of games for this Academy roster. He's been big time for a team that was upset in the upper bracket. Despite being a B team, an Academy roster, we're still a top 3 team coming out of winner's circle, and here they're being tested by South Carolina roster that is still most certainly top 8, but coming in here on paper, underdogs, but a big-time lead in Game 4 has them in a good spot.
2 minutes left to go, and Bruton Parker really haven't had much of anything to go off of in the USC half. They've only gotten 3 shots, and shoot, SJT's got 3 of his own.
And it's a steal in the corner. SJT, again, makes Kyler play awkwardly on that near side post. It's a misread, and with SJT in your face, it's easy to try and guess where the ball's going, but SJT outdoes the defense himself, and that's 4 for South Carolina, and this is the margin I think I'd call safe.
2 minutes to go still. I mean, I'm holding out distant SEL chaotic hope for a goal to be scored just because I've seen too many weird moments in this league, but of all the teams that would struggle in this moment, I think USC is confidently set to push us to Champions Field back-to-back here on the mainstream. And it's been a hot minute since we've gotten to do that, but we're not confirmed just yet. And as I say that, goal number 5 is in and an own goal.
I think it's confirmed now, if it wasn't before. And it's another transition score for South Carolina, where finishing isn't simple. I mean, if there are lesser players on the field, there's a good chance they miss that kind of an open net. But South Carolina make good contact, make good reads, and beat BPC Academy back to their own goal line. With 90 seconds left, it feels like we're watching a Gamecock victory lap here, as they are more than likely setting us to your right 2 consecutive Champions Fields on the main broadcast.
I mean, it almost feels like, okay, well, hold on now. Let me stop it, because Bruton Parker Academy finally do get a little bit of momentum. Find their first goal of this game after a rough Ogden SJT episode in the corner there, and we're a kickoff strategy away from things being reasonable.
3 goals in 70 seconds. I don't know if I'm still calling that reasonable, though. I've seen enough from Bruton Parker today to where maybe I can grant that from you, as this may be the B team, but they've still got that Baron magic about them, and there's 2. I mean, not exactly a kickoff strategy, but it does come quickly after that first for the Barons.
Again, hear me out. We're not out of the woods just yet. Bruton Parker showing very, very late signs of life, but I mean, we're not out of the stages of grief tonight just yet. There is still a lot of despair left in the tank for some wild comeback to happen, or we maybe do get to go to Game 5, but it's got to start quickly here.
I'm still in denial, but the Barons can change that. Corrupt in the corner. Just get the
no!
ball center. Og's missed.
Okay.
Where's Og going right there? Milk has an easy tap in, and maybe there is something going on Driftwoods.
Nobody say a word, because something is in the water here. And I'm going to say it again. We are a kickoff strategy away from things being really believable now. I don't think Bruton Parker will pull it out on this kickoff. No, they will not. But that is a hard sheet, and that is a full tank of boost for Milk. I believe a demo will be attempted as well. Over to Corrupt is the play, but Og is there to deflect. 30 seconds left. Needs to make sure he can saw out plenty of time here. Reset will be useless, but SJT is there to go right back to his teammate. I believe it was also Milk who just completely dove on that play. Net will be open, and there we go. What a messy game it's been, but I believe that right there is the dagger.
Well, I didn't expect, after South Carolina hit the 5-goal mark, that a 6th would be necessary to close things out and send us to Game 5, but hey, that's the position we are in, as Bruton Parker never quits in either series tonight, but Game 5 is going to be the destination of failure for one of these 2 teams and elation for the other, as it is a full 10 games on the main SEL broadcast tonight. What a treat we've been given, TJ. I mean, we came in knowing that there was a lot on the line for a lot of the teams in this 12-team playoff bracket, and everyone has played like it.
I mean, at this point, I couldn't even make any reasonable guess as to who we're going to see in Huntsville. I'm just glad that I am on this side of the pitch, where I know that I'm going to be there no matter what, and the talent always seems to improve. And both teams showcasing it here, and USC's got everything to lose and more. And also, you mentioned that we've gotten 10 games in a row, where the Bruton Parker Rocket League managers have gotten 15 games in a row. So it's been a long night over there.
No kidding. A stressful one in Georgia for BPC for both teams. But I'm sure Bruton Parker Academy, they won in Game 5 against Florida Southern. They're feeling confident about this one. But for South Carolina, both games they've won, double-digit shots, 16 in that first game, 13 in this one. 2 games they've lost, 5 and 9, respectively, for games 2 and 3. So they need to keep their offense online. They have to stay dynamic. They can't let BPC get their footing again in a game here.
It's tough to analyze this game because Bruton Parker truly was efficient given their shot total. They were 3 for 6, but the defensive mistakes are absurdly wrong that they've made in their own corners, off their own backboards, off their 50s. It's the stuff that, again, a program like this who recruits these style players who are very fast-paced, they're very aggressive, they're very confident. Almost every Bruton Parker Rocket League player in its history has fit that narrative, and I'm looking for that energy to come back here in Game 5. But for USC, they got something that these varsity programs maybe don't have. It is pure, unfiltered passion.
Yeah, it is, and great offense in Game 4 that got them to Champions Field. Now, can they finish the job? Keep on rolling in a league that has treated them so well as they've treated us so well over the years. But it comes down to a big-time game here, and it is South Carolina with the first couple opportunities of the game, but they have to play some defense now. Kyler with a shot off the bar and in. Will start us off just 35 seconds in.
Bar down, moving to the right as well. It would have been saved if that ball was shot straighter on, but directly off the bar with just a little bit of curve on that thing, and you'll take it if you're Bruton Parker. Great start, just like their other wins.
More offense required of the Gamecocks to find a way back, and Cats is trying to provide it, but there were 2 defenders on the goal line and one coming from behind to stop him, and now it's 2 offensive players looking to score a second, but Kyler flicks off the post, and Milk is ready for this to happen. 2-0 Barons.
What has gotten into Kyler here? Complete 45-degree flick, top left. It almost bounced in until it started making its way to the left, but Milk there for the tap in. It is nothing like Game 1 or 2. Bruton Parker are here, and they're not going to give up anything.
And Milk wants his second appearance in the interview booth with us tonight, TJ. I'm sure he's eyeing that with a Game 5 win, but South Carolina aren't done just yet. That's a great shot, but Kyler makes a better stop, and now he's boostless and zoned off the play by SJT. Still stays active, though, on the goal line. Double commit for the Barons, but it's a good touch from Corrupt, so he's able to clear the zone and get Bruton Parker Academy working again in offense.
This USC roster has gone through the trials and tribulations no matter who has been starting for years. This right here is no stranger going against a very formidable varsity opponent, the 2nd seed over in their Tier 1 group, and they are aware that they can beat this team in 5. They know they've done it, but as of right now, Cats has to hit that! That cannot be left away!
So close for South Carolina to a goal that would cut this lead in half, but they'll have to try again. Again, tricky open nets, but you're right. So you do want those in a situation like this with a potential land trip on the line, and now SJT is missing in defense. So Cats and Og, they do have a second to converse about who wanted to play that ball next, but that was a dangerous moment for South Carolina, and they've got to find a way to compose themselves on the field.
Decent midfield control from both Og and Cats. SJT will look for a double as well, but Bruton Parker, I mean, for good reason, are in no rush to push everybody down the pitch. I mean, heck, to push even more than one player down the pitch. Both Corrupt and Milk are waiting behind the halfway line right now. And same thing here. No second man left because Bruton Parker don't need it, all 3 of them. The ball's going to come directly to him as now Kyler has room to go to work. Og will fake challenge to go grab the boost, but Kyler may give Milk a chance right here. And that he will. It's 2 for 2 for the team captain.
3-0 Barons. Look at this speed from Kyler, followed up by speed from Milk. They've upped the pace, and BPC Academy, 6 shots, 3 goals. A huge step up after they were down by too large an amount to surmount in Game 4. Couldn't ever really stage a comeback, though they sure did try. And now in Game 5, they're not even giving South Carolina the chances to put them down by that margin. And with 2 minutes left, the Gamecocks need something now.
It's looking very dire and what could be a pretty heartbreaking Game 5 end to USC's run this season and maybe even in this roster's last season. Not to mention that I forget if Og graduates this semester or next, but that's a conversation for after this game because it's not over by any means just yet. I know USC has that fight in them. They've just got to find their chances. All three members of Bruton Parker are starting to commit on these balls right here. There is a chance for a pass to go middle, and it will be an attempt at that from both Cats and SJT. That shot does go left, but it's too slow and misplaced. Pass goes middle. Here comes a chance for Cats. Can he make up for his previous mistake? It's off. Og also faking, flicking. That one is up. SJT, it's in. And USC finds some life.
Well, Og, to answer your thought from earlier, is still a junior. He's got a year left in him. So this kind of play right here where he sets up SJT to slam dunk the first in for South Carolina could be something we see next season. But Cats is the lifeblood of this roster. Them without him will be a very different South Carolina team for sure. And I know they don't want this season to end right here. And Og's fighting hard. A good setup, but better stop by Milk. Center ball for SJT. He'll set up a potential Og finish, but the defense is there in time. And BPC Academy get one massive stop.
SJT jumps early. Luckily for him, though, Og will get his way all the way around to Bruton Parker players. That's a very heavy touch from Kyler. It will go middle as well. Og will call SJT off, but that's dangerous. Open net. Corrupt could try and call it right here. He'll go for the bump on Cats instead. The statement dunk on the forehead, and Corrupt finds his first.
I think of all 6 players in the lobby, Corrupt we've been the most critical of at times in this series, but if that isn't an exclamation point in a brilliant Game 5 performance out of Bruton Parker Academy, I don't know what is. Wonderful goal there, and that makes the comeback even that more impossible for the Gamecocks. 40 seconds, 3 goals, and it's Milk looking for more.
Kyler is there in the wings, but again, Bruton Parker should not be in any rush given the last time they had a 3-goal lead late in a game here, and they're going to try to keep it. Milk bumped Cats into his own corner. Og will find a 50, but look at how much boosting control there is for Bruton Parker. Kyler, ball falls to his hands, will work his way past not just one, but baiting an SJT. Does look middle. Og is there, but misplaced ever so slightly. SJT has to give this one back to his own corner, but it is now officially mathematically impossible, and Bruton Parker, top to bottom, A-team to Academy team, they have had a night, but after 3 Game 5s, they all will move on.
Wow, 3 Game 5s across both rosters, and Academy had 2 of the 3, beating Florida Southern in 5, and now South Carolina in 5. Some of the SEL's finest stepped up to try and take the Barons down, but they could not do it. No matter how close the blade got to their chest, they kept it away, and will fight on in the SCL postseason. What a performance out of the Barons here, and a statement Game 5 that they won by 3 goals after in the previous game they got blown out of the water.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was Kyler, right place, right time. He stepped up exactly when Bruton Parker needed him to, and yes, USC probably shouldn't have given up those 2 very early on goals, but if Kyler wanted to have his moment and it was only those first 30 seconds, that was all it took.
Well, step-up moments for all 3 players throughout that series for Bruton Parker Academy, and we're going to check on who we might have joining us in the booth. I have to imagine, if Milk is popping in on Manny's camera, we've got to have a Milk interview, as I would love to have him on. Great guest on State of the SEL last semester, but I'm sure whoever it is will have a lot to say about that big-time win that secures top 6 for both Bruton Parker rosters. And we figured that might be the case after their group stage and winner's circle performances, but they had to work for their wins today and all throughout playoffs.
It also means now that Bruton Parker is 1 series away. Bruton Parker Academy, I must clarify. 1 series away from clinching LAN, and USC is holding on to their spot by a thread. They will be praying for the success of James Madison in Florida next week.
28 points is what South Carolina sits on right now, with Kennesaw, Cumberland, BPC Academy all hot on their heels. They could take it from them, but That is a story for next week for State of the SCL to break it down next Tuesday, as there is still a lot of Rocket League left to be played this spring split of the SCL, and then on LAN in Huntsville next month. Make sure you do mark your calendars for that, and maybe take a trip to Huntsville as well if you'd like to see everything going on in action. But we've got confirmed that Milk will join us in the booth, TJ, so we'll get to talk to him about this series. And actually, the interview is ready. Milk is here with us. Milk, can you hear us? How you doing?
Yeah, hello. Hold on, it's echoing real quick. Hold on. All right, you're good now. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I have to imagine you're doing pretty good right now. Two Game 5 wins to advance the top 6. Talk us through your day.
Yeah, the first series we played, like I wasn't entirely warmed up. Like I wasn't playing that well yet, but we still won the first 2 games. I don't think they warmed up as well. And then they almost reverse swept us to beat us, and then we bounced back and we beat them. And then that series we just played, I mean, we were pretty we knew that the other team was gonna be more nervous in Game 5. Like this matters a lot more to them than probably to like someone like me. So obviously I wasn't like too nervous about it. I was just locked in and like trying to help Kyler get a LAN spot because he really wants to play on LAN. So I'm happy we were able to lock in and get it done. It was really good. It was good.
I mean, you guys have had the night in terms of any other team here in the SCL, and so I have to ask, team mental vibes. I know that's something that Bruton Parker have always been praised for. You guys have always been very open with your styles around each other and the way these rosters were formed. So after going through all the roster mania, coming into SCL playoffs with LAN on the line, going back-to-back Game 5s, what were the team comms like, and how did you guys find your way into survival tonight?
Oh, I mean, I'll have to give him credit. Kyler was just playing really well today. His comms were pretty good, and his shots were amazing. Like he's having a really good just series overall. And I mean, that kind of just went from there. That was the main starter for that, to be honest. And our mental is always going to be good. We're always going to be locked in no matter what. Even if we're losing, we're locked in. Like we try to come back even if we're down 5 goals with a minute left. We're still trying to come back. We're still trying to win. So the mental is very good.
So here is my next question that I'm very interested about. You guys have yet to play James Madison, but your A team has, and that is the team you must play in order to clinch yourself a spot at LAN. So without knowing a whole lot about this team, what are we expecting going into next week?
I mean, I'm going to set up some scrims, start practicing a little bit more with them, try to get more comfortable in the field with them. I think a lot of times we'll be uncomfortable where we're trying to position and what we're trying to do. And so hopefully all that's gone and we can just focus on beating the team in front of us and not overcommitting or anything, not giving free goals.
Fair enough. And so I wanted to talk more about your team dynamic here. I mean, obviously you were an A-team starter for a while and then bumped down to the academy roster, which obviously is still a top B team in all of CRL. But what's it like kind of championing these players and helping Kyler and Corrupt step up this season? Because all 3 of you had huge moments in that series. That Corrupt air dribble bump at the end of Game 5, like you said, Kyler was on fire offensively and you were always leading the charge throughout that series. So talk about your teammates, talk about your experience on the academy roster this season.
I mean, it's not just it's not all me. I'm not some goat at the game, but my teammates obviously put in the work, and they're more eager to learn about the game and always trying to learn and get the most. So that helps out a lot. I got this man towering me over here. Shane's just looking at me.
That is antics translating for the viewers at home. He is also not that tall.
Yeah, he's average height. Can we rush Shane, actually? Can we do that for a little bit? That sounds a great session.
Oh, man. The vibes seem good in the facility. I mean, you crashed Manny's interview earlier. Are you guys feeling good tonight? I mean, 3-0 for both Baron teams and in a pretty stacked playoff bracket. This is the last question I got for you, but how's everybody feeling over there?
I mean, we're feeling good. It feels great to get the job done, get the wins, It feels good. We're feeling good. Feeling motivated.
All right. Love it, Milk. I appreciate it as always. Love chatting to you, and congrats on both wins tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, then TJ, that does bring us to the end of the show. We do have one other result to report on. There's only one other series going on at the time of our previous series with Kennesaw State getting a win over UT Dallas with that Flitz sub in tonight. So they move on to top 6 as well. So top 6 is set, and the race for LAN is still very much on.
There is now 4 teams, and I think only 2 of them have full control of what is next. So next week is going to be the week in terms of clinchers, in terms of all the scenarios. Luckily, the math is the easiest that it's ever been for you and Shaka, but the content is at its absolute peak, and I cannot wait for next week.
Well, as it stands, I mean, top 4 pretty much locked up with Cumberland, James Madison, ETSU, Florida, and Bruton Parker all sitting in the top 4 spots, as James Madison and Cumberland are now tied in points. But George Mason, South Carolina, and UNC Charlotte right now hold the last 3 spots on LAN. And KSU and BPC Academy next week can try and take those spots from them. But that is all happening next week. SCL Rocket League is, of course, sponsored by MSI. Make sure you do support MSI, as they've been supporting the SCL all spring split long. So shout out to them. Shout out to TJ for joining me in the booth here. Shaka for pushing all the buttons in the background, as always. Shout out to the players for watching. Make sure you tune in for Valorant tomorrow. Same time, same place. Best of 3 in Valorant and State of the SCL next Tuesday at 7 Central Time. But for everybody in the SCL crew, I'm Mr. Bepic, and we'll see you tomorrow for Valorant.